As we build, we are going to treat both theory and practicals, as well as some other hints and mentoring along the line to ensure that we get on track. So before we go into the dev languages, we'll be looking at build tools. Today, I think everybody should ensure that you have Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code. I think it's good for development. You need to install Java, minimum of Java 8 and above. Java 8 greater than or equals to 8. We need to have Java 8. We need to install on our system Node.js because we'll be doing front end along the line. So we need to install this. For those also working on Java, we need to have what we call our build pack. We'll be using both Maven and Gradle. So you will need to install both of them, and then we will need to have we need to create accounts on GitHub because we are going to learn Git. So just say here, we'll just say Git. Git is part of our build tools. That will be for our source code management. For our source code management. So we have that. These are the basic stuff that we need to run our back end, front end. Later, you'll be introduced to other things and build tools, especially for front end, to make our life easier. Then in terms of languages, of course, in terms of languages, we'll be looking at okay, first, how many of us have all this build tool installed? Visual Studio Code, Node.js, Maven, Gradle. Maybe you can just type the ones you have installed in the chat. Let's see the one you have installed. Let's see what you have installed before we move ahead. All right. I'm waiting. Gradle and VS Code from Shola. Gradle and VS Code. Okay, Phil have them all. So Shola, you need to install the rest. You need to have an account. You only have Gradle and VS Code, so you need to have Java installed on your system. You need to have Node.js installed on your system. You need to have Git installed on your system so that we can continue. So we'll look at that. You should start installing them now, or after the class. You can ping me so that I can guide you through. So that's that. For languages, we'll be looking at Java. For our backend, we'll be looking at Node.js. Those are for backend, and then we'll be looking at JavaScript. JavaScript. We'll be looking at TypeScript. We'll be looking at HTML, CSS, HTML / CSS, and then we'll probably be looking at after HTML CSS. I think that's pretty good for us to run. So let's just keep it at that. Let's keep it at that. Then next is that we will also look at projects that we can look at. If you don't have project currently, I think you should think of a project that you think you can do. Think of an application that you think you can build or you wish to build. Please put it at the chat session. Let's see what application you want to build, because we'll be discussing that, and as we progress, we are going to be making reference to those applications, and that will be our reference, what I call reference implementation. It will be our reference implementation as we progress. So please put in the chat what your reference application will be. What kind of application do you want to build? You know, it will have both backend and front end. Don't worry, we are going to cover everything from design, development, testing, and deployment. And one of the things that we're also going to be doing, we're going to be doing what I call collaboration, which means that we will be doing a code review. We'll be reviewing our codes, not just me. Every other person will take a look at a portion of another person's code, and then we'll do an approval, or request for changes. This is to prepare us for working within a team, so that you don't get lost within a team. I did not know about this the first time I got a remote job, and I think I was doing a task in Java. I did that. Of course, in less than 2 hours, I finished what I was supposed to do, and I told the tech lead that I was done. But they were like, we cannot see what you have done. And for 2 days, it was showing that I have not done anything. Not knowing that I need to push my code for others to review before it can be seen that as long as a pull request has not been created, you have not done any work. So I did not know that that is being used to track whatever thing that I'm doing or I was doing then. Eventually, I was asked to leave the team. So that is why I'm giving us a full package, a total package, mentorship, theory, practical, and some of the things that you need to pick up while on the job. Okay, good. So if you are there, share your project. What kind of project you want to work on? I want to also put it in a note here so that we can make reference to it. Are we there? Please share your project. Share the project you will like us to discuss together and build along. I'm waiting. I am 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 waiting. Please share your projects in the chat box. It doesn't have to be excuse me. It doesn't have to be so complicated. Just share your projects and we can move from there. Share your projects. Share your project. And let's see what you want to do. Shola is saying an Uber application. I think better put it as either you say Uber clone, or just say car hail application, because Uber is a car hail application. All right, let's have you fill. Yes, I'm waiting. I am waiting, Philomena. I'm waiting. Type your project in the chat box so that we can move ahead. Otherwise, we just start talking. Okay, so while waiting for Philomena, we can just go straight into theory. If you have not installed your build tools, make sure you get that done so that we can get into business, from day 2, which is tomorrow. So today is day 1. Tomorrow will be at day 2. So we'll be covering under theory. We'll be covering variables. You know all that, so it will just be a walkover. Variable data, data types. What is a single page application? I think you need to change that. Tell us what application you are building. A single page application is just it's very vague. You need to tell us, when we say application, there is a problem and that you want to address or solve with your solution. So a single page application is just a generic name for an application that is browser based and does not have many pages of navigation. So then you need to refactor that. Let's have a specific task that you want to achieve with your SPA. All right, so we'll be looking at variables, we'll be looking at data types, and then we'll be looking at collections. After collections, then straight away we'll probably move to functions, classes, function classes, different type of functions, and then different type of classes and implementation. And then from there we'll go to design principles, design principles. We look at different type of designs, application designs and deployment types. Or you can say more so maybe architecture. So having said that, then we move to building. Building has to do with coding. We are doing coding. We are doing coding. We are doing tests. We are doing review, which is part of the collaboration. We are doing review. We will look at deployment. So, and then our coding will be split into front end and back end. So we look at how front end and back end are split. So and then we look at integration with other application. Under integration, we'll be looking at API. We'll be looking at under API. We should be looking at things like what I call the REST. We'll be looking at REST. We're looking at XML. We are looking at SOAP. We'll be looking at TCP IP connection. TCP IP, it may be taken in any order. That is integration to other external system. Okay, cake ordering app, that looks fantastic. So we have a retail and ordering app, and that looks like a good system for us to build. And then this will be built as a single page application at the end of the day, as we have desired. We take a look at that, and then in deployment we look at different deployment strategy. We look at containerized containers. We will look at cloud. We will look at we'll look at containers, we'll look at the cloud, we'll look at serverless deployment. All right. So we take a look at these deployment strategies. Of course, in testing, we'll also look at testing. We'll be looking at unit testing. We'll look at what a unit test is. All these are done in any order. So as we start, we'll be picking from each of these modules and discuss them and use them as we work. In fact, from the time we started doing coding, we'll be doing those making use of testing and code. So we have unit tests, we have integration tests, we have what we call end-to-end. We have end-to-end tests. We have a smoke test. We have what we call stress/performance. We look at a performance test. Under testing, then interview. Under interview questions, we look at algorithm. We look at algorithm. We look at architecture again. We look at business fit, and introduction and things like that. These are some of the things. We look at various approach, to answering interview question, from nothing to getting the job done. And for remote job, of course, we'll look at opportunities for remote job. We'll look at also working remotely, what you need to know. Of course, I think under it is time management and collaboration. So time management, then collaboration, whether it's on premise or remote. We also want to look at how we can collaborate and work together. So if you are following us up to this point, write 3 things that you think make meaning to you in what I've said so far. Write 3 things that you like in all the things I've iterated so far. Write 3 things that I've listed that I think resonate with you. Let's do that. Write 3 things that resonate with you, so that we can move on. Write 3 things that resonate with you, so we can move on. I've gone through build tools. I've gone through the development languages. I've gone through projects. I've gone through theory. I've gone through building development. I've gone through the back end. I've gone through front end. I've gone through integration, API, REST, SMS, SOAP, TCP, and co. We have also mentioned deployment, and then talk about containers. We also look at testing, interview questions, getting remote job, and collaboration. So if any of this resonates with you, if you think that you were not lost in my talk, I think you should just write 3 things that you think interest you in all. Write 3 things in the chat box. Write 3 things in the chat box. Write 3 modules, suggestions that I've mentioned. Let's do that so we can move on. Let's do that so we can move on. Let's do that so we can move on. Okay, from Shola we have you talk about coding, data types, and deployment. I think they are very key to being a good developer, getting things done, understand how you code. Data types is very key, especially if you are dealing with algorithm. You need to understand data types. Data types are very key. Whether you are writing Java or JavaScript, it's very important. And then deployment, how we deploy. You can deploy as a single server-based application or serverless application. So we are taking a look at that. I'm waiting for you, Philomena. I'm waiting for Philomena. So we continue. I'm waiting for Philomena, so we continue. Philomena, we are waiting for you, so we continue. Otherwise, we move on. We are waiting, so we continue. We are waiting. We are waiting. We are waiting. We are waiting. We are waiting, so we move on. Philomena, we are waiting for you. Put 3 things that resonate with you in what we have discussed so far. Online jobs, working across back-end through front-end, and interview questions. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So we're all in sync. So before we wrap up today, let us discuss our project. Let us discuss our project. I want all of us to contribute for each of the projects. Let's go to project. So car hailing application, and then we also have retail and other application. So let's start with a car hail application. Car hail application here. Let me just put it this way. I think it will be better I just do this and put 2 background like this. This is what we want to do. So let's discuss car hail application. Car hail application. Interestingly, both of you are actually having almost the same type of application in different contexts. 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 Yes, I've for Shola, we've talked about coding, data types, and deployments, and Philomena has online job, working across backend through frontend, and interview questions. So we move on to the project. Let's discuss the project, and I want all of us to contribute. The first one is car hailing application, which allows a user to be able to book a car ride. Right, so you book a car ride. You get a notification of your booking, you make a payment, and then a driver comes to meet you. Now, if you look at it, we have like about 3 parts to this. We have the user, and then we have the user who is the rider, and then we have driver. A driver receives a booking request, accept or reject it. If he accepts the request, then the booking is completed, and there's a time that the user or the rider might have to wait before the rider gets there, before they start the journey from point A to point B, by which we'll say that the transaction is completed. So the transaction begins from the time that a user or a rider, intending rider, books a request, makes a payment. The transaction is concluded or finalized when the rider, the driver accepts, and then they put and they comes to pick the rider, and then they start the journey to the destination. So if you have any other contribution, I want you to add your contribution. We have said that it's in two parts. We have the rider, we have the driver, and then a transaction is also being done, which is called booking, and the journey is made. During this journey, the time to completion is also measured. If you have anything to add to that, can you put it in the chat box? Shola, what is your understanding? What is your expectation of your car hailing app? Philomena, also I expect your contributions. Let's hear your contribution on the car hailing app. How do you think it functions? Just one statement or two statements is okay. Let's do that quickly so we can move on. Let's do that quickly. Write your understanding of the car hailing app. Who are the participants? What kind of transaction they occur on that kind of application? What problem does it solve? What problem are we trying to solve? That's the best thing to deal with any kind of application. When you are doing development, there is something we call a requirement gathering, where you will need to ask your client or your team or the business team about the project that you are working on. You want to gather as many information as possible. So what is the problem in this car hailing application that we are trying to solve? So Shola is saying that how they calculate the fare and the arrival time. What is the problem? I want us to start from the problem space before we move to the solution. Problem space to solution. Oftentimes, you know that there are times that you just need to wave down a taxi, and the same taxi that you have waved down might already been carrying somebody. So it may not allow you to plan your movement. That is that. There are times that you probably need some kind of privacy, so you want to go on a car by yourself, and then you know that probably to rent a car and a chauffeur, because that's how it is. It's like you go to rent a car and a chauffeur, and you are paying them, because actually in such a car hailing system, you have some people who have the car and bring the car to the company, and then you have people who apply as drivers. So you have drivers. So I would say that you are having a total package of a driver and a car as a service. No, driver and car as a service. Just like energy now, energy as a service. You cannot, since you cannot start energy by yourself, you can have electricity in your own domain alone by buying transformer. Then you can leave it for those who have transformers, to buy transformers, and then they provide it as a service by doing a subscription or by doing a monthly subscription to that. I think that's a problem that we are trying to solve, to have a car and driver as a service. Just like we have like home as a service, or what we call a service apartment, where everything you need in that house has been prepared and furnished for you. All you do is just pay, and you don't have to worry yourself. There is a hub of drivers and their details. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. There are times that you also have drivers in traditional car park. You have a lot of drivers parking at a car and they are waiting for people to come meet them. At times they need to be shouting, to advertise that okay, their car is available for use. However, oftentimes people don't want to maybe come down from their house or take one taxi to one end, from that end to the other end. So by so doing, it is easier for them to get customers or riders if they are subscribed to a system or an application like the car hailing apps that we have. I think so that reduce waiting time, that reduce probability of not being able to find someone, and that reduce the effort of the drivers to be wasting maybe fuel and energy try to drive around until they find someone who needs a ride. That because maybe a driver have been parading a region or a street for quite a long time, and by the time he's getting someone, he may want to put the charges for all the fuel that he has consumed in trying to move around. But with such a car hailing app, you can you can avoid such. All right, so let's move to retail order application. Retail order application, in this context we are using cake. Someone needs to order cake, book a cake, book for a cake, make payment for cake, and I think pay for that cake, and then once they have made payment for that cake, the one who is charged can just go ahead and bake the cake, then find a way to deliver the cake. So maybe cost of delivery and all that will be part of the charges. Otherwise, the customer could actually probably have an option for when the cake should be delivered or whether they are going to pick up the cake. So who are the participants on this kind of a system? Who are participants on this kind of system? Here we will have a customer who requests for cake, and then we have the company or confectionery company that is baking the cake, and then a third party dispatch might also be involved, and then there is a transaction that is involved because payment has to be made. So having said that, I think we'll leave it at that for today, and then next time we'll be breaking these applications down for us to design the system. So I'll touch down on theory today. We'll be looking at variables, whether we are writing Java or JavaScript. We are going to talk about the variables. So today we will deal with Java. So, and in Java we'll be treating variables. We'll be treating variables. So under the variables, will be treating numbers. Numbers can be floats, numbers can be integer, and then numbers can be double. We have double, we have float. I think a float is 32 bits and double 64 bits and co. Integer. And then after that, we also have what we call strings. Sorry, I'm already dealing with data type. For variables is just they are just names, names to their value, that are names to hold a value, or key names. Let's just say key names to temporarily hold a value. So a value can be anything. A value could be a data type. A value could be an object of any sort. And then we are saying that variables must start with we have a constant type of variables, constant, and then the ones that changes, dynamic. Dynamic variables are the one that the values changes, value changes, value changes for dynamics. I'll have to do this. Value changes for dynamics. For constant, the value does not change. Constant values. So for constant values, most time the variable names, for example, in Java, we have for constants, they have to be all caps. For example, say an integer now, and let's say integer that will never change. Let's say number of tires equals to let's say equals to 4. So this is like this has to define a constant, and then for every other one they must start with alphabet. They could be alphabet or alphanumeric. When we say alphanumeric, that is, it can contain alphabet, it can contain numbers, and it can also underscore. Variable name should contain underscore, especially if you are declaring a constant, but you cannot start a variable name with a number, or whether integer or float and things like that. That is for variables. Variables are alphanumeric. They are value holding key names for storage or temporary storage. What else? And they could be dynamic, they could be constant. It is ideal, for example, in Java, that when you have variable that is more than one word, if you have a variable that is more than one word, it is ideal that such variable should be concatenated, with the first letter in lowercase. For example, red ball. That is a variable. Then you can have all the colors of rainbow. This is also a variable. Here you have all, you have D, you have colors, you have off, you have rainbow, all the colors of rainbow. You have all the colors of rainbow. All those words are concatenated, together. Those are variables, about that. And then for numbers, you have float, you have integer, you have string. Strings are letters to represent whether sentence, names, description, and every other stuff you want to talk about. So this is data types. Data type. So we have numbers, we have strings, and then 3, we also have arrays. Arrays like a list of numbers that holds what we call primitive variables or primitive values. Primitive values are 32-bit values. They are the primitive values. And then we have lists. List holds object values. The first one is primitive, like integers, floats, doubles. That is what arrays holds. You can also hold some objects, but then you have list, which is more dynamic. Here we can say array is a fixed list. Fixed list. It has fixed length, whereas list is an array with dynamic length. That is, the length of the array can grow. You can keep adding stuff to it, and the length will be growing, just like a tree grow or something. The container begin to fill up and grow, and then the rubber begin to expand. So list has a dynamic length, but with array you have you define length of array. And then we also have a data type called map. Map gives what we call one constant time lookup. One constant type, one constant type lookup of key value value pair. Here, so what we are saying here is that you have an array. With array, to get a value at any position, that position is called the index of that array, and arrays are always 0 indexed. So for you to, if an array has say a list of 10 items and you want to find the element at the 7th position, you have to iterate. You have to keep looping until you get to the 7th position, especially when you don't know where the position actually is. The same thing with list. However, with map, if you have the key that you use to store it, like associating a key to open a kind of collection, say that in the European system now you have what we call a personal number, or what we call social security number. Social security number will be the key, because with your social security number we can fetch every other records that are pointing to you. So the pointer to other records associated to an entity is the key. So map is where you have a list of items that have a key associated with them. So the key can be anything. The key can be an alphanumeric variable. A key can be an integer. A key can be an object. In any format that is convenient for storage. And then the data can be anything. The data can start from a primitive to an object. Even if it is a primitive, it will be converted to an object. That is map. That is map. And then I've talked about list. I've talked about map. 6, we look at collections. Collections are like an advanced arrays and map. Advanced array and map that deal specifically with objects. So there we'll be looking at kind of array list. We'll be looking at linked list, like linked list. Linked list. We'll be looking at hash map, linked hash map, hash set, and co. Okay, here we also have something that I did not mention here. Okay, let me say set. Let's do set here. Let's call this set. A set holds unique collection or unique list of items. Holds unique list of items. That is a set. So, for example, the arrays can have almost the same elements occurring, as duplicate within the set, within the arrays. The same thing with list, but with set, it has to be unique. That's what set stands for: unique items in the list, in the collection. So, and then we have 6 map and the 7 collections. If you have any questions, I think let me pause here. We are going to stop from here today. Tomorrow we will continue we'll start coding tomorrow. All these data types we want to cover as much as we can cover tomorrow. So we'll start writing code from tomorrow. If you have any questions so far, please ask me. Type your question in the chat box. Yeah, Boolean is also a data type which belongs to the primitive. Boolean means either this or that, yes or no, true or false, 1 or 0. That is what a Boolean is. We'll probably be using it for logical operations, and things like that. Okay, thank you, Philomena. Yes, who has question, so that we can wrap up for today. Question. If you have a question, please type in the chat box. If you have a question. If you have a question, type in the chat box. If you don't have everything we discussed in the build tools, please make sure you have that installed before tomorrow. So we will run through a basic setup. Tomorrow we'll start with a basic setup of our build tools to make sure that we are all in sync. And then we'll start writing program as little and as much as we can write, as fast as we can write, and collaborate. Are we good? We have 5 minutes to go, so if you still have your question, you can post your question so that I can talk about it or address it, or we'll discuss it together. Please, let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? So we wrap up for the day. So we can wrap up for the day. Thank you so much for coming today. We continue again tomorrow, the same time tomorrow, for our day 2. Thank you so much.